right, this should be good now. Okay, so going back to pre-market, what do we see? Right, we have a weekly cycle sequential S&P at the highs. Okay, this is formed from sweeping previous day high in Nasdaq. ES fails to, and YM is working towards previous day high as well. So off open or before open, we're seeing this manipulation and expansion away from this key level that we manipulated, right? So what is that a sign of? It's a sign we're moving lower. Have we hit any drawn liquidity lower to allow us to reverse back higher? Because we're in all-time high conditions. Normally, we want to look for bullish PD rates to allow us to move higher. But where are we? We're kind of low in this range. In this day's range, we're extremely low. And we're also right near all these failure swings. So for me personally, if I want it to be bullish, I need a new low of day established and manipulation beneath to allow for a move higher. Okay. Same thing on ES. We have all these failure swings beneath. I'm never going to trade away from this as this is just a clear target, clear trend line liquidity for price to run through. Same YM as well, just failure swings. Another thing to note is that we haven't rebalanced this range yet as we've just expanded higher and are at new all-time highs, but we do have reason to go lower. So off open, what do we have? This confused some people. Is NASDAQ manipulates lower and sweeps this external range liquidity or a low of day. So normally you would think this is a bullish kind of scenario. Well, it is temporarily a bullish scenario because it manipulates lower initially. However, what does ES do, right? It sweeps this internal high as well as this one over here and forms this 90-minute sequential S&P. So this might be more of an advanced concept, but for people who study or studied GXT, it's also a form of a strength switch, right? Because previously ES was the weaker asset and failed to take previous day high. And then while NASDAQ took previous day high, now ES is manipulating this internal high, right? Being the stronger asset, the one manipulating this high. Well, NASDAQ is way lower in the range and much weaker asset now. So this is a two-stage cracking correlation, also 90-minute sequential S&P. And we don't want to pattern this, right? Because this is, we only look at this because these are relevant levels where we're forming these sequential S&Ps. I guess a 90-minute is like here, but it doesn't matter. We're forming that cracking correlation, right? So again, what are we seeing here? ES opens higher and manipulates two internal highs, forming a cracking correlation at the highs with reason to go lower. What does YM do? It manipulates previous day high and it has LR below. It is all-time highs, but we do have manipulation higher on two assets and reason to go lower. So the way I'm seeing this is obviously we're uncorrelated. YM's at high a day, NASDAQ is at low of day, but we have more or greater manipulation like out of the assets. Two assets manipulated higher while NASDAQ manipulated lower. So we have greater manipulation to the buy side. Okay. So, and I'm still kind of bearish biased due to all this LR beneath us. Now, what does NASDAQ do? So right now I'm obviously not trading. We're uncorrelated. I want synced manipulation or manipulation that like correlated manipulation where all assets manipulate buy side or all assets manipulate sell side together. One thing I'm watching is this 30-minute fair value gap. Why? Is because this is a clear condition if price will move higher or if we're going to respect it and continue to move lower. So what does price do? We open with 945 and we manipulate higher into this 30-minute fair value gap and we respect it. We reject it heavily. So now, once price moves in or mitigates this 30-minute fair value gap, now NASDAQ is in a spot of bearish distribution. This is because it's now in a high, it now manipulated a high time frame bearish PD array, so it can now distribute bearish, right? The other assets had already manipulated buy side and were ready to distribute bearish, manipulated higher, like ready to distribute bearish, right? Now NASDAQ is correlated to a degree and is now ready to distribute bearish along with the other assets. So still, right, NASDAQ was the only one to manipulate lower, but now we have all assets manipulating buy side and expanding away from it, right? So we have Kraken correlation following a key level, right? This high, this internal high up here with ES. YM sweeps previous day high. NASDAQ manipulates into a 30-minute fair value gap and expands away from it. We have great expansion. So this is a clear signature for price to continue lower, right? And ES still has this high time frame LR below, as well as YM. So that is kind of how I view this market open power three of the 930 power three here. And as NASDAQ, the 30 minute really was just like a Euro to IRO move, but it's kind of a hard read, but we had to wait until NASDAQ manipulated buy side in order for all assets to be correlated to distribute bearish together. If that makes sense. For any entries possible, there was this initial CISD, which wasn't favorable in my opinion. Kind of all the smart money reversal entries weren't extremely favorable. Right, just because we had all this accumulation up here. We had this high made at 933 and this high made at 955, right? So this extremely uncorrelated. And when we're trading in this accumulation as well, like we might have these stop hunts, but I don't really see them as significant just due to like, is this CISD really make a difference of this structure right here? Like we go up, we go down a lot, we go up, we go down. Like it doesn't really make that big of a difference. So in these scenarios, I'd rather wait for the expansion away. We do get this more of a manipulation that is more expansive because we have this displacement fair value gap in here. We have these IFVG as well as CISD entry, which is valid, but super uncorrelated. I wouldn't take an SMR here. Especially we made a high at 955. I'd rather just wait for 10 a.m. open. And then what does 10 a.m. do? It kind of chops around here. We see this 930 low, right? So this is we might expect a first or second stage, redistribution. As we're hitting a Euro, we want to come back into IRO and distribute lower. So we're moving back up. Again, these conditions are not great just due to FOMC tomorrow. And I think something else, but I forget. But conditions aren't phenomenal. So we want clear manipulation, like through expansive legs and expansion away. So expansion into a key level, expansion away from a key level. I actually took this loss right here. We had this internal high, soup, and this great displacement leg CIC, but like a low time frame. This is like a low time frame model that this lost on. Like, yes. Sorry. Yeah, I initially took this loss here. It's a low time frame protected swing high right here. But these also with this back-to-back kind of CISD pattern in these conditions, like maybe if we're in expansive conditions, this is like higher probable. But when we're in these choppy conditions, this can easily be an accumulation phase of price, right? So we want to see more expansion into a more relevant key level, or like a higher time frame gap, right? That's what we do. We come back up. I get stopped out. We can see this expansion mechanically defined by fair value gaps on the expansion legs. which is just manipulation. We don't really hit any significant key level, right? We kind of inverse this 5 minute, which isn't a great sign, but it's not something that I would take into consideration due to SMR put in, and we're not really reversing off any key level as we have failure swings beneath. So anything really below, like none of this really matters to me. I still see lower. Um, so that's what happens. We come up, kind of manipulate back into the range. Why we have this 10 a.m. power 3 open. We want to see manipulation higher. We want to form that high of this 10 a.m. candle. Right? We want to form that high of the 10 a.m. candle. And then we want to take, after we form that manipulation above, ideally into a key level, there's not really a great key level to play off of here. And then we can trade away on the distribution of this 10 a.m. power 3. Why? Because this smart money reversal has already been put in, so we don't expect price to come back higher here, but actually expand lower, and that's what we get. We get this, CISD entry right here on the 1 minute, and price just pretty much dumps from here. Obviously, we have all these great targets on ES, two-stage tracking correlation. We have manipulation higher. All assets are ready to distribute, and that's what happens. We just dump lower. Yeah, I mean, I think I went over the pretty much the important things, but if there's any questions or anything, just let me know.